fat. And if you go back to that living outdoors thing that I was talking about, that we are a genetic heritage, stress doesn't always make your body want to be fatter. Sometimes it makes your body want to be thinner. Let's take a totally different living environment, because thousands of years ago, our ancestors populated the whole world. And there's lots of different living environments. There's deserts, there's oases, there's tropical paradises, there's Arctic wastelands. We inhabited all of them. And part of the reason why we're able to do that is because our bodies could gauge the right amount of fat that we should have for any living environment. So if you take another living environment, like a tropical paradise that's warm, imagine you're living in a tropical paradise. Now, if you're living in a tropical paradise, first of all, it's warm all the time, so you don't need fat as insulation. So you're not having that stress. So you're not activating the fat programs because of that. And there's food everywhere. Anytime you're hungry, there's a banana, there's a mango, there's nuts, there's a game, fish, birds, all kinds of things you can always eat. You never, ever, ever have to miss a meal, ever. So that stress is gone. So your fat programs are not on. And your body's not saying we don't need extra fat. Your body's not saying we need extra fats. It doesn't need extra fat. And it doesn't have to conserve. So if you're living in that environment, you don't need fat. Let's take it a step further, though. Let's imagine in that living environment that not only is there an abundance of healthy, nutritious food and water and warmth, let's imagine that there's wild predators roaming the jungle. Well, this is what we lived with, right? And if you were not fast, I mean really fast, you're dead, right? And you don't have to be faster than the tiger. You just have to be faster than the guy running next to you. Right? But you have to be fast. And this is the environment we grew up. So in that instance, when a tiger's chasing you, and you have to move for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, faster than the guy next to you or whatever, you got to move, that's a stress. But it's a very, very different stress than the Arctic wasteland stress of not having enough food and being cold. It causes different chemistry in the body. That chemistry activates the get thin programs. It activates what I call the get thin or get eaten programs. If your body gets the message that either you get thin or you're dead, believe me, you're not hungry anymore. Your body knows how to lose weight. It does. It's that simple. Your body knows how to lose weight. I've lived through this. When your body wants to be thin, your metabolism speeds up. You're just not hungry. And if you are hungry, it's for really healthy foods. And you have lots of energy. If your body thinks you need to get thin or get eaten, you will lose weight. So, in that instance, your body's going to say, not only do we not need fat because there's food is always abundant and it's warm, but if we have even an extra ounce of fat, we're dead. So it's going to shift its set point. We need to be 60 kilograms or 150 pounds or 140, whatever it is. We need to be less. And if you can get your body to shift its set points, you can get it to think that it doesn't need food for survival, it doesn't need to store extra fat because there's no famine and it's warm and there's wild tigers out there, you've shifted your set point. And that's how you lose weight in a sustainable way. And that's why it's possible to lose 220 pounds or 100 kilos and keep it off for 5 years without ever thinking about it because your set point shifted. So when you understand these programs that we carry around with us, then you understand how your body works and how to lose weight. You also understand why diets don't work. Think about it. What are you doing when you're dieting? Yeah. That's right. You're creating a famine, right? You are artificially creating a famine. And yes, you can lose weight by dieting. But you also get your body to want to be fatter. You activate the fat programs. So it's almost like you're borrowing from the bank and you got to pay it back with interest. Because not only, right? Because you're forcing yourself to lose weight. So not only are you going to have to give that weight back, but you've also shifted your set points. because your body's saying there's famines out there. And that's why serial yo-yo dieters get heavier and heavier and heavier over time. To me, dieting is a little bit like holding a volleyball underwater. The minute you let go of the volleyball, the volleyball pops up. And it pops up higher than the water, higher than where you were before. So you understand why diets don't work then. Yeah. Because you've shifted yourself one. So what you have to kind of do conceptually, let's just start conceptually here. What you have to do conceptually is understand these programs and say to myself, well, what kind of environment am I creating for my body? Because your body doesn't understand the stresses of modern day living. And so, am I creating an Arctic wasteland type of living environment? Or am I creating a tropical paradise where there's wild animals? And what's interesting is, and this is something that's always baffled the scientists that study this, is why is it that stress, the same stress, can make one person morbidly obese and another person anorexic? Why is it that the same stress can make one person thinner and one person fatter? I mean, does stress make you fat or does it make you thin? The answer is, it depends on the way your body's interpreting the stress and the type of chemistry that it's causing. And to give you an example, when I was working in New York and I was gaining all this weight, I was in a very, very stressful job. And I had a business partner that I worked with very closely. And he was a very animated guy. He would lose his temper immediately from the slightest little thing. And me, I was very different. When things didn't go right, I just sort of took it. I didn't react to it. I just sort of took it and just internalized it. If the slightest thing went wrong, the fax machine broke, he would be flailing his arms, what is this, throwing the fax machine, screaming at people, just all over the place. Which I also felt was even more, I found very uncomfortable. But if you look at it, we were having the same stresses of running a business and the fax machine breaking. They're the same stresses. But I'm just sitting there taking it. He's flailing his arms. And the whole time I was gaining weight for 11 years, he was losing weight. He just kept getting thinner and thinner. And it would drive me crazy because I'd be on every different type of diet. And for lunch, one time I'd be on the Atkins diet, so I'd order a hamburger with no buns. And then the next week I'd be on the Pritikin diet, and so I'd order the bun without the hamburger. I would just order all these different diets. And he'd order like a chocolate milkshake for lunch. And he wouldn't even drink it. He'd have a couple of sips and it'd be sitting there. I'd be dying for that chocolate milkshake. And he didn't even care about it. And he kept getting thinner and thinner. The reason is because we were living to our bodies, we were living in different environments. I was living in an Arctic wasteland where stress I just took it. I didn't respond to it. I just took it. Like the same way you would in an Arctic, if you were living in an Arctic wasteland, you couldn't run away from it. You wouldn't flail your arms if it was too cold or it wasn't enough to eat. You would just take it. Day after day after day after day after day. And that's a type of stress that causes a specific type of chemistry. He, on the other hand, was living in the African savannah with wild animals chasing him every 30 seconds. Because every time the fax machine worked, he'd flail his arms and be all over the place. And his body got the message that he needed to be thin because there were predators out there. Mine, that I was in an Arctic wasteland. So the same stress will make one person fat and another person thin. So you have to ask yourself, what are the stresses that I'm experiencing? And how is my body interpreting those stresses? Is it interpreting it in a way that somehow fat's making you feel safer? Or in a way that's making you feel like fat is something you gotta run away, you need as little fat as possible? And so in the book, have you guys all read the book?
Yeah.
Okay, good. In the book, I talk about all the different ways that your body, all the different types of stresses that your body might interpret as a famine and what to do about it. And over the next couple of sessions, we'll kind of delve into each one and what to do about it. But for now, you just want to ask yourself, what are the stresses in my life, whether they're physical, mental, or emotional? And how's my body interpreting them? Does my body feel safer being fat, or does it's being tricked into thinking that I need the weight in order to survive, or is it being tricked into thinking that I need the weight in order to be thinner? In reality, you don't need the weight one way or the other, but your body's going to activate one program or the other.